Okie dokie. Welcome to the stream, guys. We're going to be editing some product photos. We did this the other day, but hopefully be a little bit more set up, a little bit more organized because I had no idea what I was doing. For those of you who are new here, you stumbled across me on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Basically, I am a photographer and videographer. I think I've got the stream. Whoops. Photographer and videographer based in Melbourne. I do a lot of food photography. I sort of started in cafes, and then, food photography is a little bit similar to product photography. So just going to be going through some edits. So if you've got any questions, let me know. I'll sort of explain what I'm doing as I go through. So if you're catching this after the stream's over, let us know. You can find me on my Instagram, which is instagram.com/edward.wisher, which is the same spelling as my YouTube name. So if you want to find me there, ask me any questions, let us know. I'm going to pump some tunes, just something nice and chill. And then we are going to go and edit these photos. So this is the last little bit of editing for a client of mine, the Butcher's Daughter's Cakes. She's a friend of mine. She was in the last live stream. These are for a website, so I'm doing a lot of effort into creating really high-end sort of products things. So hopefully you can get some little techniques. They're not super advanced, actually pretty easy. It's more of a time-consuming sort of edit. So yeah, we'll just go through it and see what we've done. I'm pretty much coming to the end of the edit. So I've done all these, edited all these photos down here, and then so we've got these, which is pretty much just straight product photos. And then we've got, your more food stuff over here. We're going for a light sort of peach edit, nice and bright and vibrant. She's a baker, so she has mainly as a cake shop. Some individual ones of the cakes. And basically what I've been doing is going through Photoshop once I've done my colors and all that, and then fixing everything up. As you can see, this is our ghetto backdrop. And then you've got all this here. So we've got sticky tape. You got the board, like one of the walls from the shop. So once I'm done with it, stretch it all out, and I'll show you how to do that, which is super, super simple, super easy, and a really cool technique. So got some more sort of creative stuff. Been using the clone stamp tool and the content aware tool to sort of bring out all this, take away all that, make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer, just so it's ready for web. Usually if I'm editing socials, I don't care too much about being really picky, just because it's gone in 2 minutes. People forget about posts once they're a day old, so it's not the worst thing in the world if it's not the most accurate thing. But for me personally, if it's for web, I like to do the really, really high-end edits. So let me show you some examples. So where are we? So with this one, the happy birthday, obviously I've got a crease here along the paper because we're using our ghetto backdrops. And then, so I content aware filled that out, got rid of it. And I also got rid of some of the, some of the reflection on, where do we go? Well, this will work as well. So we've got the reflection around the edges, and we just sort of got rid of that. Oh, didn't get rid of it on that one. Never mind. We'll have to revisit that one. Awful example. Here you go. So we've got the reflections along here. So use the clone stamp to just sort of get rid of all of that and make sure it's nice and clean. So as you can see, it makes a huge difference. Get rid of some of the crumbs, some of the silly bits around the edge. We had a little bit of a white corner. I got rid of that. It just really polishes it up. It's difficult when you're shooting through plastic, and it's never really, from my experience, been this easy to sort of edit things out. But so a good example is this gold one. That's awesome, but you can see me sneaking in here, and you can see the dust and all that because of the reflection. So then I had to clone stamp basically all of it out, and then you end up with something like that, which is much cleaner, much nicer. And I'll probably revisit that again as well, just to get rid of this, to make it really quickly. Might actually do that really quick. So getting rid of this, I'm just going to use the clone stamps tool. Really simple, guys, and just get rid of that. It's little things, especially with product photography, just because there's no, I guess, distractions would be how I put it. Yeah, there's no distractions from what's going on in the scene. So you really notice those little things. For me, I wish I could have taken off this masking tape. I did try and content aware fill this one and clone stamp it away, but I just couldn't. It wasn't clear enough underneath of what the cake was. it was just really hard to do well. So look, maybe I might give it a go, see how much time we've got. But yeah, just cleaning this all up, making sure it's not so noticeable, and making sure you're just focusing on the product. There's nothing really obstructing the product besides the masking tape. Nothing really obstructing the product and making it, you know, making you lose concentration on what you meant to, lose focus on what you're meant to be focusing on. So, look, this is one of those things where you can go forever and ever and ever, I've noticed. So, as you can see, you can get lost in this going right down to like individual pixels. I think this was actually shot on my A7 III, and I'll be editing some reels later if you're into some. If you're interested in showing you how to do reels really quick, because it's been something that I've been employing in my business and for my clients, because I do a bit of marketing as well for them. So it's for me, I really like to make sure that I'm giving them the best and most relevant. Yeah, giving it the most relevant. Sorry, guys, getting text and shit. Giving them the most relevant content for them. Like, there's no point in putting out pieces of content that aren't going to do well. So make sure. Fucking hell, phone's never been busier. Making sure we're just putting out the best content for our clients. So there you go. I could probably fix out some of the. No, it's not going to work. This thing when you're doing your clone stamping and all that, you've got to be a little bit careful about what you do. You don't want to take it too far, because eventually if you use too much of the clone stamping, you don't do it well. You can tell that it's all one surface rather than being textured and, you know, having some sort of variation to it, as most surfaces do. So that one's all good. Save that. And switch up this music, because this is a little bit too... How you going? Let's try some hip hop. I don't know if I can actually stream. Maybe I can stream MusicBed. So I've subscribed to both MusicBed and MusicBed and Artlist. I've done a few broadcast jobs, so I use Artlist. MusicBed doesn't cover that, but in general, I think MusicBed's got much higher quality music for me anyway. From my type of music, I guess it's all like. It's all about what you prefer. So for me, I really, really, really prefer Artlist. Sorry, prefer MusicBed. I just find it, I don't know. It seems to have much higher quality music. Like, it sounds like music you'd expect to find on the radio, and you do get those songs occasionally with Artlist, but I don't find that you get them all the time. So one of the things I wanted to do with this, because it might be a little bit easier, is edit in Photoshop. And see, I've got silver here. You know, you've got this blue and gold and black, and then this sort of pinky one. Is trying to take this format and put it over the one. So what I'm going to need to do is get all these in here. Now, obviously, this would have been way more simple if I just done this in the edit. So you can see with the one where I got the silver and the blue. So I just need to do this pink one here. So what I need to do is I'm actually going to try get rid of this. See what we can do. See if we can get rid of this masking tape, because it doesn't have that cake under it like it did in the other ones. That actually looks pretty good. Don't mind that at all. That's actually, I'm pretty happy with that. actually really happy with that, how that content, sorry, not content aware fill, that clone stamp's coming along. I find it's way easier to clone stamp when you've got sort of vertical lines, especially with scenarios like this where you got shadow. You can just sort of pick an area and organically sort of mix it in. So you know, you can, if you go straight up, line up that line, it's just so easy to like blend in there. Just sort of keep going along here, blend it in a little bit more. Not too bad. I want to fill it in a little bit more. It's just one of those things where you can probably just go all day if you want to. Probably need to call it at some point, or you guys will be watching me fill out this one all day. That's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. So now what I want to do is basically select that. If I'm lucky, nah. I was really hoping I could do a color select and sort of get all of that in there. Magic wand, nah, zero chance. All right. Let's try our best here. Just going to use the pen tool. Which is actually going to be pretty easy on this one. I'm kind of dreading it on the 3. Just because nice straight lines. So really all I'm going to do is pretty much delete this. If we go, what we'll do, be smart about it. Yeah, don't think I could get away with that one with the old pen tool. There you go, that's pretty much what I want. Make selection, so I got that, I'm going to delete that. Whoops. Delete that, and now all I want to do is essentially copy this, put it under that layer, and then just use content aware fill while I'm here, and fill it in. This is a pretty quick and dirty way to do it, to be honest. You probably do it better, but I think, mate, as long as it's believable, it's no stress. And there you go. We have created, so from that to that. I don't reckon it's too bad. I don't reckon that's too bad. Okay, that's actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And now we're just gonna, what I will do though is file, export, it's PNG. Because what I want to do is edits. If we do pink, because every time you save it, it's going to overwrite the old version if it's on the same sort of layer. So we'll get rid of that. Bring in our silver one. No, did I have a silver one? No, we've got a silver one for the one. So we don't need to do that. Get rid of you. The 2. Okay, we'll fix this one up. From this job, I've literally just learnt to love the clone stamp tool so much. which is so easy. You line it up right, and it's just like, that's pretty seamless. That's pretty good. See, that is, I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll just, oops, sorry. Noggin got real close to the fucking camera there. It's weird when you're live streaming, you sort of notice all the weird stuff that you do. Alright. There you go. Just clean this up a little bit more, just because we're going to need that anyway, as I come through. If they're like really tiny dots, especially if you've got a pretty matte sort of color come through for this, for like your scene, I just clone stamp it the whole way. Like it's just so easy. Like if you've done, I'm sure if you guys have done any sort of product photography, you learn to love the clone stamp tool. It's a problem with working with paper as well. You're going to get heaps of creases on it, and like working with paper when you're working with food as well, use it once and then it's done. Especially chocolate, like you handle it too much, or if the room's a little bit too warm, it's just done. So I reckon that's pretty good. And now we're going to do the fucking task of using the pen tool along here and creating the different. Should probably go to number 2. Just trying to make sure that I export as I go. Otherwise, I'm going to fuck this up and then won't have all the other copies that I need of all the different colors. So I love the pen tool. Do not love it when I have to do corners. Now you'll notice I am keeping in these edges just because this is not working for me. These little edges or bevels, I will keep them in just because I do want to try to keep an edge, especially when you're talking about matte colors like a silver. You're probably not going to notice it too much. Yeah, you're not going to notice it too much. So unless the colors are like polar opposites, like you pretty much got to, you don't have like a really heavy color contrast, you're not going to notice little bevels being different. Just sort of trying to figure this out. Sorry if I've got like ugly concentration face on. I really am not good at streaming yet, so my bad, guys. And I realized after my first stream, I don't know if I was just nervous or what, but it's like I have a new respect for streamers and how they can just like chat, especially if they're like playing games. Like I don't really watch gaming streams, but just like the way that they can chat and not and like concentrate at the same time. Just like, dude, because I'm like, maybe it's different when you're playing games. Like I suppose if you like doing real high end shit, You probably... You can tell I'm bloody master at the pen tool, can't you? Jesus. What is going on here? I literally do not use the pen tool all that much, so this is kind of getting a little bit annoying. Alright. See, this is kind of what I mean about streamers. I've been like concentrating on that and just realised I haven't been talking. Still new to this, guys. Give me a break. Oh, nearly there. I'm so happy about it. I'm really liking this song. This one isn't coming out quite as clean as I'd hoped. That's alright. See what we can do still. Whoops. Sorry again for seeing my noggin. This is a bit of a tune. It's not bad. Not great, but not bad. So now I'll do the same with the candy color. I'm probably going to need to get that one back at some point. Might just make it a little bit bigger. Just save me some hassle. Swear to God, never been such a fan of the clone stamp tool. One thing I really wanted to do this year is get really good at, or try out graphic design and try out better Photoshop. I really like some of the Photoshops you see out there are so good. I used to like not be a huge fan because I was like, you know, that's not really photography per se. But then again, I started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, it's probably not different to, you know, I remove things in Photoshop all the time. So, what's the difference between that and, yeah, what's the difference between that and like adding things in? And it's like an interesting argument, I reckon. Like, a lot of people talk about it. Well, not a lot of people. I've seen a couple of people talk about it. Like, is it still? Would you consider Photoshop images photography or digital art? A guy I follow on Instagram, he was talking about it. I thought it was a pretty interesting conversation, to be honest. Like, what has happened here? Oh, there we go. Like a really interesting conversation because it's like, in the day and age where photography is all digital, is it all digital art? Like, is that what's? Does it all fall under the category of digital art or not? If you get this far, guys, let me know. What do you think? Is it all digital art, or is it like, where's that line? Where do you think that line is of digital art versus photography? Obviously, if you shoot film, you'd say still art, but it's like, I mean, like, still photography. Like, it's still photography, but like, it's all digital anyway. So like, the argument can be made like, everything's digital. So why is it? Everything's digital. Sorry, guys. I'm concentrating way too much on this just to make sure I don't fuck it up. I'll be right back, guys. Be right back because that coffee's doing its thing. Sorry about that. Coffee, just doing coffee things. Needed a few extra today just because I slept like shit last night. So I think I've done the 1 and the 2. Well, the 2 is the one with its pink, the one with its gold. Because I was silly and I didn't do this properly. Gonna have to do this again. Awesome. Just triple check that. Okay. Okay, 1's done, 2's done, 3. Man, this is going to be a major pain in the ass to do. Just because of all those curves, I'm already dreading it with the pen tool, but gotta do what you gotta do. Just a little tip, if you are ever spamming out the clone stamp tool and you see any sort of noticeable change in shade, usually use content aware fill to get rid of that stuff. For me, most of the time. So I don't, because content aware fill will do gradients really well. Whereas obviously clone stamp might not. It's a bit more static in the way that it replaces objects. So I'm just gonna see what happens if I do a content aware fill on this one. I don't really have a huge amount of faith with it. No, that's crap. Oh well, try the best. Man, that's what I mean about the see, I got that shade just there. Let's see if I can clean that up with the lasso tool just to make it a little bit cleaner. Yeah, let's see what happens. I might just do a cheeky one of these. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Awesome. So that's 3 done with that. Should we export it? Then, fuck, pen tool. Going again. So hold on a sec. Got to get my YouTube chat up. Right. So now I gotta use a pen tool to get rid of all of this outline. Around here. This is not working for me, like at all. I'm just like losing all skill that I have with the pen tool apparently. It's so fiddly sometimes, it's so annoying. So handy, but so annoying at the same time. Pen tool's so easy to use when there isn't curves. I know it's one of those things that you get better at, but far out. This is super tedious sometimes. It's getting to the point in the edit where it's like, and I'm sure everyone knows this, there's like the fun stuff at the start when you're like changing colors and doing all the cool bits, and then it gets to the point where you're just like doing the I guess like the grunt work. You just gotta push through and try and, you know, polish the product as much as you can. Pays off in the end because, like, I firmly believe you get out what you put in, and that's something I realized a long time ago. You know, even if it's a $200 client, you should treat them like a $2,000 client. And something I'm trying to actively do more of in this year going forward. Like obviously last year, so for those of you that don't know, during events that we can't mention that happened, there was a I've heard stories that you get deep, not that I'm monetized anyway, but our friends at YouTube don't really like you talking about current events, let's call them. So I don't really want to get myself in trouble for doing that before I've even really started my YouTube journey. So yeah, oops. Yeah, they. Oh god, what am I even saying? This must be a very fun conversation for you guys to follow because you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. yeah, there was a very highly recommended stay at home. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say the L word. Yeah, very highly recommended that you stay at home and don't work last year in Australia, well, in Victoria, where I'm from, which kind of sucked. And, one of the things I really had to look at, bouncing back from that is, was my work good enough for businesses to actually warrant paying for when they're in a tight financial spot as well? Like, it's easy to rationalize spending. Full transparency, I'm $150 an hour on site and $100 an hour for editing. So like a standard 1 hour shoot is roughly $300 to $400 depending on how much editing they want. So your standard sort of promo videos, I will usually say to a client, it'd be like usually 400 I quote. If it's under, then it's a nicer price for them. But yeah, so I just sort of look and go like, well, is my work good enough to warrant that? Which is a fun little conversation with myself, because honestly, I thought, I had, what happened there? I wasn't treating every client not as they deserve. They got the product that they wanted, but if I wasn't getting the sort of money that I'd not expected, because you talk about quotes and all that beforehand. Fuck. I wasn't treating them like I should have, because yes, you do the job that you're paid for, but also, you're not going to get better work. Hey, man. How you going? You are welcome, my dude, and I'm looking forward to taking some snaps with you later. My mate, Deeran, I hope I'm saying that right, dude. I'm so bad with names. I helped him out with some camera gear, just suggestions for buying, and he's been doing his little camera journey, which has been pretty cool. And he's been doing like very active in trying to up his skill level. So it's been really cool. I'm looking forward to going out and shooting a place that I've been wanting to shoot for a minute now with him. Yeah, so something I get asked a lot from people is like how to get clients. And I think there's a sort of weird stage where you've been working for a while, right? And I'm sure a lot of more senior videographers have seen this, or photographers. You're getting bigger jobs than but you're not getting the big jobs. You're not getting your huge, not huge. You're not getting the like corporate clients and all that sort of stuff. You sort of been in the same spot for a while, and you've got to start. I believe anyway. You've got to start treating those clients like they are, $10,000 clients, $5,000 clients, even if they're only paying you, $500. Two reasons for that is, why would a client hire you if your work doesn't already look like it's going to be $10,000? Because that's a huge investment at that point. Yeah, got to be looking at why they would hire you. So if you're producing work that looks like it's worth that much already, then yeah, they're going to jump at you. Sorry, I got to just check, and then I got 3. Got to do a silver one and a gold one. Yeah, so if your work doesn't already look like $10,000 work, they're not going to hire you. Like, when you're starting out, there's a lot of places that can't really afford really high-end content. Like, let's be honest, sometimes if you're a small business, especially after the year we had last year, it's a lot of money to lay out. I've been really fortunate with my clients. They sort of understand good marketing and good content. A lot of places, I know when I was little, when I was starting, it was hard for me to. This is a fucking sick song. Hard for me to communicate why. Just, I guess, like when you're starting out, you don't really have the confidence to communicate that. Yeah, you don't have the confidence to communicate why your services have a huge amount of value to businesses, which can be scary for some people. But fuck, I've gone off tangent here. So it's important for you guys to realize, if you're a beginner, I'm sure if you're experienced, you know this, it's important for you to treat your clients like they're the clients you're trying to get. It's like dressing for the job that you want, not the job you have. If you're putting forward jobs that are $500 and you're constantly doing that, you might be really comfortable with that. But would someone who's looking to shell out, $5,000 go ahead and pay that? And they're the sort of questions you're going to be asking yourself. And something that's what I was saying. That is what I was saying. That was something I was asking myself recently, because I believe anyway, probably, I wouldn't say I was slacking. I was just not slacking at all. I always try and give my best, but there was little things that I could have done better. I was delivering on what I said I would deliver on, but not really much more. I think I like that I did that. So there's so many things you can do for business to make them really go, wow, this guy or this girl is really delivering a lot of value to me. And that's what businesses want. People want to get what they paid for. It's like when you go to a cafe and you get a meal and you're excited for it, and then all of a sudden it turns out to be kind of shit. That's a bad feeling. That's a real bad feeling. So yeah, I just make sure that you're over-delivering for clients. You don't have to do it all the time. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes clients are pains in the ass. And you don't want to do that. So it's not always a viable option. There are some people that will try and take advantage of you, especially if you're new. Shooting for free is a good way to get exposure, but at some point, if you are doing this as a proper job, you do have to eat. Having a roof over your head's pretty cool, I found. So exposure's cool, but don't devalue yourself. Basically what I'm trying to say, there's this really tricky dichotomy you got to hit. This really tricky balance where you've got to be delivering a lot of value to clients, knowing your worth at the same time, and communicating that worth so you can get good jobs and big jobs. And I think that was just a real roundabout way of saying, know your worth. But there you go. So what's something we can chat about, team? What's something you get asked about a lot? One thing that I got asked about, I don't know if you're an experienced videographer, you're going to not roll your eyes, but you'll probably recognize this request. I got someone ask me what the best cameras are to use for shooting whatever. If you're new, the camera only carries you so far, so get good lighting. Lighting's actually way easier than you think it would be. I used to be you need a softbox, you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh man. Have you guys ever sold anything on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace? I'm doing it right now, and it just annoys the shit out of me. I don't mean to sound ungrateful. However, people just lowball you. I'm selling a lens. I don't know where it is. Is this it here? Maybe this is it. Laowa 12mm no distortion lens. And if you know anything about real estate photography, this is one of the best ones you can have. Because it's so wide and it doesn't distort. One thing you'll know with real estate photography or videography is unless you're lined up perfectly within the scene, you're going to get some distortion towards the edges and it does not look good. I did like a big for real estate job over like a week and use this. And basically, I don't really shoot real estate anymore. And I've also got this Tamron 17 to 28, which I want to get rid of and basically trade those in and my Tamron 28 to 75 to get a 16 to 35 f4 and a 24 to 105 f4, both Sony G lenses. I'm sort of over the stage. As you get on in your videography / photography career, you'll realize that you basically don't need nearly as many lenses as you'd think, and that low f-stop is kind of overrated. Like, I actually shoot f4 with a lot of my stuff. It's so funny. When I first started, I used to be so obsessed with low f-stops and, you know, look cinematic, which is a term that I just don't even like using anymore. Yeah, I don't even like the term cinematic anymore. Done the 2. What am I looking for here? The 4. Silver. Yeah, I don't even like the term cinematic anymore. So, for me, I actually don't... Yeah, I don't shoot in those sort of 1.4 to 2.8 range. 2.8 range I do. I don't really like shooting primes either. I'm a very run and gun shooter. My kit's in the car, so I don't have it with you. I can't show you. But yeah, so I shoot. Got 2 cameras. For those of you that are interested, I have the A7S III, which I absolutely fell in love with. I did not expect it to be the camera it was. Like, I knew it was good, but like, not sure about you guys, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if like YouTubers are just like blowing shit out their ass because, you know, they say like they don't have to do a good review for a certain camera, but it's just like, you know, you want them to keep sending you stuff. So there's only one person I really trust with their reviews, and that's Gerald Undone, the man himself. So I don't know. I don't trust YouTube reviews too much. I trust them more from smaller creators than I do bigger creators, just because a lot of the time they're, you know, they don't have money on the line or anything to sort of uphold with that company. So yeah, I got the A7S III, blown away. I just absolutely love. Everyone talks about the color science and all that sort of crap. The thing that I love more than anything is the flexibility. Like, the thing that I really love is how easy S-Log3 grades, how good it looks. The color science in it is absolutely fantastic, and the flexibility that it gives you. Going from an A7 III with such like a low bit rate in its video files and trying to shoot log with that and how quickly it falls apart, like, you have to nail it so much with an A7 III compared to the A7S III. Grading that is like a dream, and I've even got the Ninja 5 to be able to shoot ProRes RAW, but unfortunately, hey, thanks Cam, appreciate it, dude. I really appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, while I was shooting with it with A7S III, I just noticed the flexibility. For one, the really low ISO for to be able to shoot, I think it's 1660 ISO for S-Log3, and to still have that really fucking amazing dynamic range, and the colors out of it are just so nice. And now it's got Cinetone. I won't use it personally. Everyone was ranting about that, but that wasn't for me. For me, it was really important. Like, it just the flexibility. Like, I just didn't have that. I usually shot hybrid log gamma with my A7 III, just because it was a good balance between you could move the footage around and do what you needed to do, but it didn't degrade really quickly. If I shot log, I just hated it. Just hated shooting log on the A7 III. Never did it. Wasn't worth it. And yeah, just the pain that you went through to get the results that you did just didn't match up for me. Whereas, like, if I'm shooting on the A7S III, it just comes out so clean, so nice every single time. And I'm just such a big fan of it. It just, for me, I'm not too loyal. I've shot Sony through my whole career, just because for me, I've always been a hybrid shooter, and they've, in my opinion, been some of the best for hybrid shooting. Obviously, there's color science, but I'm more about practicality. Like, especially when you're starting out, if you've got a client that asks you about color science, unless your colors look really gross, it's just not going to come up. So it wasn't a big concern for me. And even when you get into the cinema lines, you know, the color science is absolutely ridiculous anyway from all people. Like, I know Canon's got their color science, and everybody loves Canon for that. But I honestly think that old mate Sony's catching up pretty well over there with that one. So literally can't remember why I was running. I'm so bad. Do you guys ever just chat to yourself? Probably not. Hope not. And then you just forget what the fuck you're saying. Talking about Marketplace. That's what I was talking about. I got these lenses on Marketplace. Fuck, that went into a full rant about my gear. That was not good. Talking about Marketplace. Yeah, talking about Marketplace. I've been selling this gear on. So this lens new is like 1800 Australian. I've got it listed up there for 1500. Keep in mind, I've used it for 2 shoots. It was 2 days of shooting. And people are trying to get it for like $1,000. I'm like, dude, this thing is flawless. And lenses, for those of you not in the industry, retain their value really, really well. So, man, it just annoys the shit out of me. Like, it really, really annoys the shit out of me that people try and lowball you. Like, all my lenses, far out. This was like the longest rant ever. Anyway, I just really like, I'm going through what I just said in my head. Fuck, what was I even saying? Yeah, basically, just getting lowballed. But that led on to me talking about when I started being obsessed with like cinematic looks and shallow depth of field and thinking it's the best thing ever. And what I quickly find when you're shooting videography, shallow depth of field is actually quite distracting. Most of your favorite movies and TV shows aren't shot at like f1.4. They're shot at usually like f4 to f5.6. And they still look fantastic, obviously. Like, it's insane how good they look. So I laugh at old me. Like, I really do. If I go, what am I trying to do here? Sorry, Bush. Trying to fucking figure out what I'm doing with my life here. Yeah, I think that's one thing. Like, it's not surprising that people get really obsessed with gear at the start. yeah, anyway, that was a very long-winded way for me to say I'm downsizing my rig a little bit. I am not as run as gun as I used to be, but I just find I've got all these lenses that just sit on my shelf so much. Like I've got pretty much with this one, I got the Sigma 24-70, and this is 28-75. I don't need another, two in the same focal range. The reason I wanted the 24-105 is one, I worry less about low light with the A7S III, so I'm really focused on increasing how much versatility I can get out of my gear. I just find sometimes a 70mm is a little bit shy of what I wanted. Yeah, it's a little bit shy of what I wanted with my sort of work, and sometimes I really want that extra 35mm on my lens. So, but I really hate sometimes, I'm sure we've all done it, unless you're carrying two cameras, you switch out your lens, you miss a moment. So I'd absolutely love for some of my like really run and gun shoots, where I can just bring one camera, like just rig up my camera and just go 24-105, especially if you're shooting at 105. Even at f4, you're getting such good compression, it's going to look fantastic. And one of the things you get with video, if you're shooting a little bit too, if you're like too far away, what on earth am I trying to do here? Oh, I'm going to have to do this a long way, which I really don't want to do. Legit on struggle straight for this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Alright, I need to start again. I hope I'm not the only one that gets like 3 edits and then you're like, oh, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I think I'm going to need 2 copies of that. Because I want to get rid of this for sure. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do. Go. Select inverse. Alright, I reckon I got this. I reckon I got this sorted now. I think. Now that we've done that, we can actually start talking again. Sorry, that just took way too much of my concentration. Yeah, I don't think it's any surprise that every beginner in any field feels the need to have a lot of gear. I do think gear matters. Like, I really do. Like, I was literally just talking about, I can't sit here and be like, gear doesn't matter. When I was literally just talking about how much easier my life is when I'm using the S3 over the A3. I've got to be a little bit realistic about that. So, yeah, it's it matters quite a bit. Yeah, it matters a fair bit. Not as much as people think, but it still matters. Alright, what the fuck am I doing? There we go. That's what I was looking for the whole time. I'm sure that was... There was easier ways to do that, but... Did I already export that? Please tell me I did. Alright, cool. Alright, that was a journey and a half. Alright. Now I feel like I'm back on track, so we're all good. We're all good. Start chatting again. Sorry, I'm really not good at the whole like chatting and concentrating thing. Ask my girlfriend if I'm like doing something I'm fucking awful to talk to. Sorry, Mush. Yeah, so I think gear does matter, but it is more a convenience thing. It's like at the start, gear does matter because it helps you level up your game and it gives you more flexibility to do things you need to do. But it's not until you've got the knowledge of being later on down the track that you can say that you don't need gear as much as you think you do. But that is like a luxury that's afforded to you because you have the experience with the gear. That makes sense? So like you don't need gear, but it does teach you more about photography and videography along the way. So it's like very easy to say you don't need gear when you've had the experience of using the gear, because at that point your knowledge outweighs how much you can be carried by the gear. So it's, I don't know. I always found it funny how YouTubers will be like, you don't need gear, but they're also like sitting there with like Canon C200s or, you know, Mark 3s or whatever the fuck it is, or like Sony FX6s, and like it doesn't matter, but you do have to go through that journey. Like, you know, with any experience, if someone tells you, you know, it's not that good or whatever it is, like they tell you how it is, it's like you still want to experience it for yourself. You still need to go on that journey by yourself before you can confirm or deny if that's like the case. So yeah, when YouTubers are just like, it doesn't matter, I'm like, well, it doesn't matter for you because you get sent all the shit. And I'm not trying to be salty. It's just like you need to go through that as a beginner. You need to like go through and learn that your gear doesn't matter, but you need the gear to realize that. You need to get the new drone or the new camera and realize your work isn't actually better because you got the new gear. There might be certain situations where it could be, like if you're a sports photographer shooting on an A3, an A7 III, and then you go over to the, you know, A1 that's just come out, like you're going to notice that. You're going to notice the difference between 11 frames and 30 frames a second. So, but again, it doesn't make as much difference as people would make it. Why is this not working? Not copying the right one, that's right. You know, it's not as important as you'd believe, especially as a beginner. You think it's everything. But that being said, you are watching people that shoot on cameras that are like a couple of generations ahead of yours, and, you know, it's a bit yuck. And all that, saying it doesn't matter. But like I said, you need to go through that to understand that. Like, because I used to be obsessed with gear and say it doesn't matter, but at the same time, if I've talked about this in a video of gear doesn't matter, it's somewhere on my channel. I think it's like, it's, you know, deep in the archive somewhere now, but it doesn't matter. But it also, you know, you might watch your favorite cinematographer or something like that shoot scenes on a camera, and you are under the belief that the camera does help, And it does. Like, let's not be stupid. You're not going to get the same thing out of like a ZV7 or ZV1 or whatever it's called from Sony versus a versus like an A7S III or an FS6 or something. Like, it's just not going to happen. So you need to be a little bit more like realistic about it, I guess. But that being, oh, fuck, again, I've forgotten what I was saying. So I guess the rant's over. Man, I'm bad at this. How's my editing posture? Is it good? Can you guys tell me if it's good? It's probably awful, but that's alright. Nearly done with these numbers. You guys are probably so sick at using looking at these numbers. Let's just double check we've got everything. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, cool. 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, cool. Yeah, it's I think it's an important journey for most videographers to go on, and I think it does give you a lot of confidence to try new things. That's what I found anyway with my little journey, is that it actually just gave me more confidence to do shit with clients, and I felt more confident taking shots. I felt more confident walking in because I felt like the clients probably respected me more. I don't know if like respected me more, but like it's definitely a thing. I've seen it a million times. This is probably why a lot of people like shooting on bigger cameras. Like, people take you more seriously if you got a bigger camera and a bigger lens. Like, people take you more seriously if you're shooting on this versus my like 50mm 1.4. Or like, I've noticed that if I shoot my Tamron, the 28 to 75, I don't get nearly as much. It doesn't look as technical when I'm shooting on my Sigma 24 to 70, just because it's a much bigger lens. And it looks more legit. When I've got my full rig on, I've got my like Ninja on my A7S III. It's got cables coming out of it, microphone on top. Everyone's like, oh shit, this guy knows what he's doing. But realistically, unless I'm shooting a really high-end scene and I want that extra bit rate and all that sort of stuff, and to do it onto an external monitor, it's exactly the same thing. Like, it is exactly the same thing. So, like, but it looks more impressive, and looks are a lot of it, unfortunately. I think that's kind of how it goes for the whole industry. Well, it's like any industry, isn't it? Like, if you see a guy and it's like, oh shit, he knows what he's doing, then you're probably going to take him over someone that's like got no idea what they're doing, or looks like it. I'm going to lasso tool this and just content aware fill. Let's see if it's going to do its thing. So usually when I'm like covering up gaps like this for your product photography, and this is why I love product photography, you can take one of the most ghetto setups and make it look professional. Like, so good. Let's do a little lasso around here. That's the thing you'll notice with like the clone stamp tools, even though the gradient might be so slight, even if you move down here, I noticed it a little bit down here, I could probably get away with it. It's a little bit lighter, even though like that almost looks like the same color, but it's slightly lighter. It's not until you put it against that background. That is why I usually, and I should have done it here, use the lasso tool, especially once it's done, and do a content aware fill. And there you go. That filled that in much nicer. And then again, I just sort of go back and forth between them, making sure that I get everything right. Probably take down the hardiness a little bit, just so it sort of blends a little bit better. There we go. It's not great actually, don't love that. I think it was probably better at the start. You get that sometimes, get out with the big jobs. So bad looking at my chat. Alright. More of this. Alright, that's pretty much done. So now I'm just going to look over the cake. What I like to do when I'm going through these is just like take out, especially if it's for web stuff. Now that I've done that little bit, I'm going to just use a clone stamp and just get rid of all this. Now it's probably, for a lot of people, a bit too much to do. But especially if I'm shooting for web, like I've said, I really want to clean this up as much as I can. Stuff like this, you know, you can bleed these edges into one another just so it looks a little bit smoother. As much as possible, get rid of any sort of blemishes. You probably don't need to go to this detail, but I'm just trying to really nail this like this. I can tell that's not really meant to be there, so I might actually just do a content aware fill on this one because there's quite a bit of gradient on there. Whoops. Content aware fill. Beautiful. And we'll just do a quick just sort of smoothing that all out, taking any sort of specks of dust off. Like, it almost does look unnatural in a way, but it does help just sort of bring the image together. Again, I only ever do this for web. You just see there's like a few just blemishes, and I know that the client doesn't want that there. So it just, for me anyway, just sort of brings everything together. Let's see. Because especially when you're doing things for web, you're going to notice it. Like, you can get away with this shit with socials like easy just because people don't have the sort of detail in it. Whereas with web, it'll be a full-size image. And they'll be able to tell. How do we get rid of all this, mate? So that's all good. Pretty sure I don't need all these. As you can see, I overshoot a lot sometimes. This is just another one. So what I've got here is a reference viewer. This R and A means reference and active. So I'm just trying to match these pinks. I find sometimes if I'm editing and I'm constantly editing, I will just sort of get lost and do whatever's best for that picture. But like, you get to the end and like one might have a blue hue, one's got more of a, you know, a different hue. So I always try, and when I'm sending off things, this is something I didn't do very much when I was starting out, try and make sure that the hues are all the same. Of the images, because it doesn't look very good, I don't think, when you've got different hues of different things, like the same images shot in the same day, and then, you know, whether you got the different white balance or what. To be honest, I usually shoot auto white balance and then they're all over the place. I don't really fuss around with it too much just because I shoot raw anyway, and as you can see, my post-processing does take a minute. So yeah, I'm not too fussed about it, spending a couple more minutes just making sure the white balance is okay, especially for product stuff where it's usually the scenario hasn't changed too much. I really, I'm not like overly fussed about it. Taking a couple of extra seconds just to make sure the white balance is okay. Like, especially for me, because this one was shot natural light, it's going to shift anyway during it. I know the earlier ones were quite a bit bluer, and they wanted this peach sort of color. So if we scroll back here, see there's almost like a purpley sort of color when we first shot it, and then the client wanted that more sort of peach color. So we're trying to stay in line with that. Make sure we're doing that properly. These are all pretty straightforward, actually. There's not too much to get rid of with these ones. Just double check for any sort of blemishes we might want to get rid of. Honestly, content aware fill is just one of the greatest things ever. So general sort of workflow thing I do with all of it is I'll import all of these into a collection, and as I edit, anything I'm not going to use, I know I'm not going to use, like that one because it's wonky, and it's all kind of a bit samey with the other ones I've done. Just remove them from the target collection, and then I know when I come to the end that I will be, when it comes to the end, it will be just the ones I need to export. Oh shit, tired. Probably would have been awesome if I actually showed you how to edit these, but we'll do that in another video. It's probably, now that I think about it, not that useful, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed seeing the background, the behind the scenes anyway. So most of my product stuff I will bounce between Photoshop and Lightroom. Obviously Lightroom for your edits. Is that going to work for me? Fuck, I love that so much. For all my edits, basically between Lightroom and Photoshop, just to clean it up, especially with product stuff. You don't want any nasty bits in the background. Getting rid of those creases I was showing you about. Getting rid of, holes that might come up. These are all looking pretty clean. This thing, ridiculous. Cheesecake brownie slab, like, my lord. I'm trying to eat healthier. Like, I have a bit of a sweet tooth. It's not the worst in the world, but it is there. And And my God, like working here, it's just like Hannah was just like, oh yeah, just take some cupcakes and all that sort of stuff. I got to the gym, I just had to hand them off. Like I had two on the drive over, like to the gym, which is only like 5 seconds around the corner. And I was like, I need to get rid of these, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this whole fucking box. No worries. Like yeah, if you're on a diet, don't go work with bakeries. So this music is why I love Music Bed. Like I legit listen to this, and there's been so many artists on Music Bed where like, I've just heard their stuff and I was like, I actually really enjoy that. Whereas like I just don't get that with Artlist. Artlist is awesome, and I love the way that their subscription is so flexible, but I just don't have that same sort of like. I don't really enjoy the music that much. These are pretty easy, just sort of detailed shots. Not the most interesting, but I think these are the last ones. I'm just going to lasso that. That is looking pretty fucking shit already. The detail. This was shot with a Tamra. Oh no, this was shot with a 50mm, I think. I think I shot all of these with my 50mm 1.4. Usually at f2.8. F2.8, sometimes f4, depending on how much detail I want it. Like I find with food photography, using a shallow depth of field is just not good. Like you might think it looks more aesthetically pleasing, but the people watching it probably won't think that. Just because they can't see like what you're doing. They can see this tiny little slither of the thing, the subject. This is the same reason why I started shooting that more like f4, f2.8 if I really need low light flexibility. With a lot of my lenses, you lose the subject. Like if you've got an f1.4, which admittedly does look really nice in portraits, it just doesn't really work for food or for subjects. Like you're gonna, especially if you're doing video, like their ear will be blurred out to be that sharp, or it's really hard to just get a straight focus on the eyes when you're shooting that shallow. You gotta be bang on. But as well, if you're shooting a really shallow depth of field, you might notice there's some documentaries you watch, and obviously it's the creative's decision to go where they want to go with that. But the subject moves forward, and then move forward like 5 centimeters, a couple of inches, and then you've already lost them. Like they're out of focus. Whereas like with an f4 and f5.6, you got a bit of latitude where they're still pretty in focus before, you know, they can move a fair bit before you can, before you lose them. So, yeah, you just, I don't know. I think low f-stops, unless you're shooting low light, pretty overrated, in my opinion. Like, there's a fair slither through this subject where you can actually see that it's in focus. Whereas, like, oh god, this is a dirty one. If I'd shot f1.4, you're probably talking about, like, from here, well, when to put my feet up to, hands up to the screen, like, probably like the depth of that rose petal, which is not good. Like, a big thing is making sure the subject's in focus, and that means most of the subject, not just some of it, that you might get with, that you might get you might get a really cinematic look with the shallow depth of fields, but at the end of the day, if people can't see the subject, especially when you're talking about food, it's not a good shot. People need to be able to see what they want, and I find it's generally, most lenses anyway, are actually much sharper, much cleaner when they're shooting. Gotta clean this up, sorry boys. Yeah, sharper at f4 than they are at f2 or f1.4. Yeah, they're much sharper, much cleaner. But it's just gonna, I just find what's a beginner mistake that I did when I started food photography. I was obsessed with depth of field, as most of us are when we start videography, and all I wanted to do was get a shallow depth of field, and I didn't really care about actually showing off the subject, which was not good. So for me, it was really important to realize that I'm showing off the subject, not how cinematic my footage could be. So making sure you're shooting that f4. Sorry, I'm so bad at talking and editing at the same time. It'd be interesting when I can't listen to music because I'm doing videos, and I do plan on live streaming video editing as well. So if you have any suggestions for stuff you'd like to see for editing videos, let me know. I might do some live stream, some tutorials. Live stream some editing of some DaVinci Resolve stuff, so you can see step by step, because I know there tend to be two types of people on YouTube. People that really want really detailed sort of stuff, and some people that just want to tell you, want what they are looking for, which is generally me. Wants the bare minimum, just give me what I need, give me the bones, and I'll figure out the rest. So I'm going to get. So I realize there's two crowds of people out there. So I want to make sure that I'm appealing to both of them. Probably going to crop in on this one, just to make it a little bit more. This one will be for socials, so it doesn't really matter too much. I wonder if that perspective is just going to look absolutely cooked. Yep. I remember what I was trying to go to, but I was trying to get the shadows really well done in here, and it just didn't work for me at all. It was not a fun time. A bit brighter, don't you? Yep. Yep. I reckon we're done, boys. I reckon we've actually finished this edit, which is sick. Considering how much extra stuff I had to do, it was actually pretty quick, which I'm really happy with. I think, excluding all these extra ones, she's going to get a fairly, I don't like them at all, a very decent amount of photos. What's going to be a GIF? Don't like them, they were crap. So that's an example of shooting the depth of field way too shallow. The perspective's crap. That's a really crap photo. You can obviously tell it's still warming up here a fair bit. That one's just like straight up not good. Also not good. Don't know what the fuck I was going for with this one, to be honest. It's not awful, it's just not great either. Oh well. This one we're going to make into a GIF. And then we're going to go back to a shot. This one's going to be a GIF. That's it, boys. I think I'm going to call the live stream there. Just shy of 2 hours. I hope it was fun. Enjoyed it. Skits that I'm trying to work on. Finding my little way through my YouTube journey. But anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you did get this far,